Hey y'all. So I know I missed the Sagittarius full moon tarot reading. However, I did actually record for it. But what had happened was, long story short, my iPhone's mic was having issues and I recorded on my iPhone, and the recording just turned out really, really bad. Like, the audio was horrible. It was up and down. It just was not worth it, and it was not salvageable. Like, I could not save the audio. So I thought that I would just use the video because the actual imagery is perfectly fine. It's just the audio that goes along with the video is trash. So I'm going to replace it with this recording. Now, I would have loved to have found this out before I have tried multiple times recording other voiceovers, I guess you could say, because when I recorded the audio for the Sagittarius full moon reading again, I did not know that. Long story short, it wasn't even a big deal. I just really had to like reset it, but I wish I would have known that. But that is neither here nor there. What I'm going to do is actually share an insight with you because it really very much encapsulates this Sagittarius full moon. Now, Sagittarius is the ninth house, and the ninth house is about occultism, group collectives, and it's somewhat different from, I guess you could say, the 11th house, which is Aquarius energy, where it's like collectives of people. This could be your friends, this could be a committee, this could be an organization. The ninth house is very much occultic. It's very much hierarchy. It's very much who's who, and not just who, but the gatekeeper. So, you have to start off with your bachelor's before you get into an higher ed program. So it's one of those things where you have to climb up the ranks. You have to be very much rank and file. And with this ability to be mutable, because Sagittarius is very much a mutable sign along with Pisces, Virgo, and Gemini. So with that fiery energy, Sagittarius, so the ninth house, is very adaptable. They're very much, I rock out with my sock out. I'm very much the energy of being able to get along with different people in different settings, very much of what you eat, don't make me, shit. And very much live and let live. And with that particular ninth house energy, it very much exudes the mystery and the wonders of the world. And with the ninth house, Sagittarius energy, that is very much associated with its home planet, which is Jupiter, and that Neptunian energy as well. And with these energies from those planets, it's the ability to dream, that Neptune energy, the ability to see things from the unconscious state or even the dream state. So very much vivid dreams, or dreams that you can remember, or dreams that really resonate with you. Maybe even daydreaming and the ability to really carve out and envision what you want and what you desire. Very much, I guess you could say, psychoanalyzing your own self and seeing, are there still some programmings that no longer serve you? Are there certain people in your life that no longer serve you? Are you even having certain codependency issues or even imposter syndrome, living out old tired scripts that weren't even your scripts, so were handed down from you to people who themselves haven't done the necessary deprogramming work? And with that Jupiter energy, very much quote unquote dumb luck. Sagittarius nine house is also known as the bachelor of the zodiac wheel, but essentially it's the ability to be mesmerizing, be vivid, collaborative, lighthearted, fun, carefree. And this is not something that every sign is very well adapted to, especially non-mutable signs, the fixed signs and the cardinal signs, with the ability to see the brighter things in life and the silver lining and the ability to see ahead, master ahead, plan ahead, and make those strategic moves. You tend to stumble along and find what is meant for you, what is drawn to you. That ability to turn a half full situation or a half empty situation to doubling that, and it's a full cup. Seeing what you can exchange, seeing what natural abilities that you have that could be used for different purposes, the ability to be wanderlust and not be so hard driven or archaic or controlling, letting what happens, right? What is, letting it be, and acting accordingly to what is reflected to you. So with that Jupiter energy, with that quote unquote dumb luck energy, with that quote unquote undeserving, but you're really deserving. If you've been grinding for X amount of years and you finally get to where you want to get to, a person who just saw you get that big uppings, that promotion, is going to say, well, damn, it must have been easy for you. Like, wow, that was just a lucky streak. Not understanding, peel back the layers. You've been working for this. Like, you've been grinding for this. Like, you've been plotting for this. This is nothing new. But to other people's eyes, because they don't know what you've been through, it's always easy to dismiss it, or it's always easy to belittle it, because they don't know your story. And truth be told, if that's the way they come in, they don't even want to hear your story, because their lie is better than your truth. And that says a lot about them than it says about you. So with this particular example of this Sagittarius full moon, I want to share a particular dream that I had. Now, my dreams are very, very, this is the, like, what you would say, the forewarning, I guess you could say. My dreams have always been very wild. Like, I have always been a human being in my dream, but I've never stayed the same race or the same gender. Surprise, I'm a Black woman. But in my dreams, I have been different races, I've been different sexes, but I've never not been a human. I've always been the same age or younger, whenever I dream, whether it's like 2 years ago or not. I'm always either the same age that I currently am, or I'm younger, but I've never been older in my dream. And I've never not been a human. So I want to, like, forewarn with that. So this particular dream that really encapsulates this Sagittarius full moon energy is, I was at a schoolyard. And interestingly enough, this is the schoolyard that I went to, or was connected to my school. So it's a public park, but it was used for my school's recess and extracurricular activities. So I recognize it very well. So when I was there with 3 of my other friends, and we were grown adults the way that we look now, but we were in the park with a bunch of kids, like middle school kids, young kids. And it wasn't a lot. It was sparsely. It was looking like after school. So some of the kids went on a bus, some of the kids got picked up, some of the kids did whatever, but it's not as active as, let's say, the middle of the school day. And my friends and I are just walking through that schoolyard. And I don't know if it was a grass or a blacktop. In real life, it's a blacktop. In the dream, I want to say it was not a blacktop. And I say this because the blacktop is relatively not as seriously as long as a football field, but like the shape of it, it's like rectangular. So when we were on that blacktop, which in the dream was actually like a low cut lawn, it was a field, but it was shaped kind of like a football field. It just wasn't as long. It's rectangular, and the grass was very flat. There was a long, I wouldn't want to say skinny because it wasn't like fat like an anaconda, but there was a long snake, and it was a long black snake. And it reminded me of the whip that you use for bulls, or if you're into American history, the whips that they would use on enslaved Africans. Very long, very black, and very, what would you say, startling. And it was a surprise to me because this is a schoolyard. Like, there's kids in the vicinity, but no one sends to see the snake. Only me and my friends see it. And because we see it, we get nervous because the snake is at the beginning of the entrance. So like where you enter into the schoolyard, and its body was curved like serpentine, like a S shape. And its tail was closer to us, but its body was all the way on the other side. So I'm like, the way this snake is looking at us, it has its eyes laser focused on us. Again, schoolyard, other kids, no one else sees it, just me and my friends, we see it. So I'm like, we got to get out of here because I don't know if this snake is poisonous, but I know it sees us. We see it. No one else sees it. And if it darts on us, it might fuck around and eat us. So we were scared. We was big scared. And we were trying to get out to the side that's closest to us because we weren't going to cross the snake to get to another side. Like, what? No, ma'am. So we don't want this thing to strike us. We don't want this thing to like bite us or whatever. So we're frantically trying to cross the gate and trying to cross over. The thing about it, at the point of the schoolyard that was closest to us, it's like a fence. So there was no exit out. And we're like panicking because we're like, this thing could fuck us up. This thing could get us. And apparently no one is threatened. We threatened, but no one else is threatened. So we're frantically scrambling around. We see nobody who can help us. Along the fence, there is like a mini, I guess you could say, swings. So for like infants, so they have like those holes for their legs, but it's not like a legitimate swing. It's not shaped like a crescent moon. So it's more like a cup shape. So we're frantically like getting nervous because we see the snake's body starts moving. We see its head start bopping around like it's about to like go. So we're like, oh my God. Out of nowhere, there's this like young white male. I don't know if he was like the garbage collector or he's one of those compost community garden type of people, like city works people. Like I don't know what his job was, but that little baby came from nowhere on the opposite side of the fence and pulled out the way trash cans in the recycling area. And behind the trash can and the recycling containers was a little window, a little door, a little escape window. And we say him because literally he came out of nowhere and we were trapped. We saw no exit. We were thinking about hopping over the fence, but like we did not have the proper clothes. I'm not that athletic and I was just not going to try my life. Like it just was not going to happen. Okay. We were not dressed for the occasion. So when he like pushed the trash in the recycling, like as soon as my last friend left that little window, the snake charged and he was like, I say it's a he, but the snake could have been like anything, any gender, hell, non-gender. Like it really didn't matter. That was not the point. It was like inches away from like literally like spiking, like its teeth, fangs hooking into the ass of my friend. And we were like, oh my God, like you saved us. Like, oh, the snake was going to come get us. Like, it's crazy that no one else sees this. The kids, no one's protecting the kids. Like, no one else sees it. And we were just so grateful. And I don't remember this man saying anything or doing anything, but we're just following him out of that little, it was, I guess you could say pathway. It wasn't an alley, but a little pathway so we can go on the main street. So we like thanked him or whatever. And because I do believe in looking into dreams, that is this is who she is. Welcome me. I did look it up. And from what I pieced together, it very much makes sense to like the way I've been thinking, the current realities of things, and the Jupiter energy that is with this Sagittarius full moon. And I say this to say is that the black snake represents this energy of worrisome, this energy of instability, but this energy of rebirth as well. As we know, snakes are associated with rebirth, the changing of the skin, because snakes actually shed their skin, as well as with that energy of like, you don't know a snake is there until you see it, or it makes a sudden noise. But it's not like a cat. Like you can't hear it boop, 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 boop on the window panels. You can't hear it roar like a bear. When you see it startled, there it is. And that was the particular energy. Black representing either decay, all things bad, but it could also represent the energy of rebirth, the energy of all colors, because that's what black represents. It is the manifestation of all colors, whereas white is the absence of any color. So this, speaking of the energy of things are right, the energy is ready to, I guess you can even say, boil over. And it's the energy of right now. Like you cannot delay anything, right? When Sagittarius energy hits you, especially when we're talking about that karmic energy, we're talking about getting what you deserve, what goes around comes around. With that particular energy, when karma comes for you, it comes for you. So the black snake could represent either or energy, the energy of you getting your just due, your karma, or the fear that the trajectory of life, the trajectory of self, the trajectory of the planet, the trajectory of civilization is so topsy-turvy, which it is with climate change and with the war in Ukraine and with capitalism, late-stage capitalism and food shortages and oil prices surging and inflation and all of that. The energies are very ripe. What it is calling for on a conscious level and on a society level is very much the energy. Are we going to die on our knees, or are we going to fight on our feet? And it's the energy of like, this is the system that we live in. We cannot reform our way out of climate change. We cannot incrementalize ourselves into socialism. Now is the energy of what are your principles? Are you willing to fight for it? People talk about peace, peace, peace. But in this system that is very violent, peace can only be achieved if we're willing to fight for it. And it sounds oxymoronic. But with all these celebrations, today is currently Independence Day, 4th of July, ironically. Like I've been telling y'all, I've been trying to get this video out to y'all, so bear with me. The idea is independence. The idea is America fought for its rights. It separated itself from a monarchy, the British Empire, doing it for self. And even a year ago, hell, even before the pandemic, 4th of July would have been the jingle was sick, American, Blue Lives Matter, vets are the greatest. That is like a second Christmas for those type of folks. They have the American flag, they're loud, they're barbecuing, cooking, you're hearing all these type of American anthems, like decked out in all American imagery. I swear to God, there was none of that this year. None of that. Now, I saw American flags. Of course I did. Like, I live in the United States of America, like, duh. But that energy of like that pride, that energy of like my team, that energy of America is #1, the greatest in the world, yeah! It wasn't there. And I live in Massachusetts. Trust and believe me, that is baked into the customs of Massachusetts, especially since Massachusetts was one of the first original colonies. So it's imperialism on imperialism. There's like, it's pristine imperialism. Like, this is the genesis of imperialism. Like, yeah. So if anybody would be, God bless America, it would be here. But there wasn't. And you know why? It's not because people all of a sudden realize that American imperialism, colonization, capitalism is fucking, the world up. It's not because we became more empathetic. It's not because we all of a sudden, the veil has been removed from our eyes. What has changed is our material conditions. The same way we were okay with corporations and the government exploiting people from overseas, now we are being exploited. Now, Supreme Court justices that none of us voted for can now tell us what we can do with our bodies and our autonomies. And that bodily autonomy that women don't have in these certain trigger laws, these anti-abortion states, who put their business, who put their foot into the wombs of women, to put them into the vaginas of women. Now you can't celebrate Independence Day when you're not independent. When you don't have autonomy over your body, you don't have bodily autonomy. If you're in Texas, your vagina belongs to the law. It belongs to the boys in blue. The same boys in blue who did not protect those kids in Uvalde. The contradictions. Now the contradictions don't reside somewhere in Africa where, I don't know, blood diamonds are going on, or a rubber plant, or some type of oil cartel. It's not some faraway land with those backwards people. Now it's you, the good old Americans. Not just the deplorables, like the poors, like the blacks, like the natives, like the Latinos, and, those crazy Arab extremists. No, now it's you too. It's also affecting white people too. The middle class does not exist the way that it used to. Now it's getting harder to fill up your tank and harder to put food on your table, harder to find a roof over your head. The chicken has come home to roost. And you, Americans, are living like a third world population when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to climate catastrophe, when it comes to neoliberalism, when it comes to the lack of proper housing, not shelters, but housing, with the food insecurities, the peeling back of the free universal school lunch programs, and et cetera, and et cetera, et cetera. You see it like I see it. So in this day where you celebrate all things American, apple pie, freedom, fries, and all of that, people aren't that inspired. Because what is there to celebrate when you're a woman in Texas and your body is not really your choice? And not just for women who want to get abortions, even for women who need certain medications that are known to give abortions or known to result in abortions. People, in particular, women in those states, can't even take those type of medications, even if it's not for an abortion. There's one particular medication that people who suffer from seizures need to have to save their lives from seizures. But that medication results in abortions if a person was looking for an abortion. But the medication in and of itself is for seizure patients. So if you have seizures and you live in, I don't know, Missouri, guess what? You can't have that medication. As a woman, you can't. So what is there to celebrate? But then again, Native Americans who've been under occupations from the settlers, this good old settlers, like I said, Massachusetts, original colony, what is there to celebrate about the day of genocide, the day of imperialism, the day of colonization? What is there to celebrate? See, the reality of America being a tale of two countries, a tale of two cities, a tale of two ideologies, the 6 degrees separation are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. It's not those poor people on the other side of town. Now you're starting to see your own neighborhood is starting to look a little janky. Things are looking a little rough. Money's not really flowing like that. Now you are in the position of being exploited because you got to make rent at the end of the day. And you can't afford to be homeless. The way that Americans have been able to allow other people to be grounded into powder via exploitation, because it allowed us Americans to live a better life, especially those who benefited, who had the American dream, who had the 2.5 kids in a picket fence, who had the ability to have all the pensions and the securities and a couple of property and a boat, like those folks and the beneficiaries of that. So this is the children, this is the nuclear family. That complicitness comes back to bite in the form of wiping away of social programs, not increasing minimum wage, attacking unionization, causing more and more economic uncertainties under pensions being looted, under the housing crisis, and now the pandemic being plummeted and plummeted and plummeted. But did the American people care when children were used as cheap labor in foreign lands? Did Americans care when poor people in foreign lands were being exploited for natural resources, whether it's diamonds, whether it's rubber, whether it's palm oil, whether it's crude oil, whatever the case may be? Did we actively care? Did we actively organize? Did we actively go against capital? Or did we say, that's unfortunate, thoughts and prayers, back to my austerity, back to my American exceptionalism, back to my own bubble? And now that those who lived comfortably on the hog are now finding themselves having to visit a soup kitchen, there's nothing to celebrate because the dividends has become smaller and smaller and smaller. Your life has been interrupted. But for those who've always been penny pinching, always saw themselves in TV shows such as Good Times, who've always been on government subsidies, who've always been struggling, who've always been rubbing two pennies together, who've always been exploited, whether it's low paying job to low paying job, whether it's even getting a degree and not even finding a credible job. For those who are already being used as a stepping stone for others to succeed. They already knew the system wasn't working for them. They already knew the system was against them. They were already disenchanted. But to those who were getting a dividends from this system via their positionality to power, they did not care. And in fact, they wanted those poor people, those disadvantaged people, those minority people, minority in the sense of immigrant, minority in the sense of woman, minority in the sense of disabilities. It was okay for those who were getting their dividends from the system to dismiss those who are already being plummeted to the ground. Welfare queens, right? But now that they find themselves having to be a welfare queen, now they want the sorrow. Now they want the empathy. Now they want the compassion in ways they never had for anybody else. Not those in foreign lands being exploited, and not those in the United States of America being exploited. So now the chickens have come home to roost. And it's only going to get worse because Biden already told us fundamentally nothing's going to change. As well as it just seems like the hand of time just reversed itself. Now women don't even own bodily autonomy. So bringing it back to the dream, with the dream, the black snake could represent the energy of either we allow this systems of things to devour us whole. Have you ever seen a snake, like an anaconda, wrap its body around its prey and squeezes the life out of the prey so then it could swallow it whole? That could be us in regards to all of these isms, the racism, the imperialism, the capitalism, the colonialism, and so on and so forth. Or we could rally together in our people power, organize, and think strategically how not to only liberate us as Americans, but liberate all of us as the working class. Because no matter where you are at on this planet, if you are not a part of the classist, elitist, parasite class, you are being exploited. If the government can giveth a middle class lifestyle, and the government can taketh a middle class lifestyle, then it was never yours for the keep. It was always on borrowed time. And your positionality was never real. It was always an illusion on borrowed time. So those who thought that they were safe and they hustled and they grind and they climbed the economic ladder, the social economic ladder, now they're finding all of those restless nights, all of those missed birthday, all of those working extra hours. What did it amount to when it could be giveth and taketh? And those who are already on a higher level in this hierarchical system just keep on rigging the system to benefit their economic and material conditions, while those who produce said economic profits don't receive much from it. Hence the reunionizations across the spectrum from industries, whether we're talking about the John Deere strikes, whether we're talking about the Kellogg strikes, whether we're talking about the Amazon union labor activism. The veil of we are the best, we are number one, capitalism works. That veil has fallen. And not only the global South, who are the ones being exploited by the global North, seeing the truth of the austerity of neoliberalism, but also us Americans are seeing it, because we understand we are not going to be one of those, I went viral and now I'm a multimillionaire. We're not going to invent some new quirky tech or new quirky gadget and become a millionaire. We understand our positionality, and we also understand that this system does not give a damn. Living through the pandemic and living on what's to come next with this monkeypox, a lot of people are seeing that this is the end of the road, and they can either be a sustaining prey for this metaphorical snake, or you can rebirth yourself. You can change your skin. You can change your ways, your philosophy, the way that you engage, the way that you live, and come anew. But this time in solidarity with all the working class. Another aspect of the dream that resonated with me is the fact that me and my friends were the only ones who could see the snake. No one else could, but the only people who were on the yard were children. So that is the analogy of the ability to see as an adult. When you're a child, one example, you can't tell time. Like, you don't understand the fluidity of time. Like, if you tell a kid you're on timeout for 10 minutes, they huff and they puff because 10 minutes to them feels like an hour. But as an adult, we know time flies by. 10 minutes to us could have been like 2 seconds. The way that we see time changes as we age and we mature and we understand the complexities of life and responsibility and commitment. Those children were not able to see the snake because they don't have that ability to understand life, to understand politics, to understand the way that systems of things operate, because they don't have that life experience and they're not abstract. They're very much what you see, very much five senses, but they cannot think in terms of philosophy, in terms of paradoxical realities, because they don't have that muscle memory. They don't have that expansive brain consumption of ideas, and they don't have the mechanisms to be in deep thought because they're children. Their brains aren't fully developed. So they couldn't see the snake as predatory or see the snake as ability to reform or rebirth, because as children, all you want to do is skip rope, play with the chalk, play tag, swing on the swings. You're a kid. These life events, these life discussions they do affect you. Yes, they do as children, but you don't understand how they affect you because you're a child. So that's another piece to it. The snake being long and being serpentine, that S curvature, that's to say the road to redemption, the road to revolution, the road to organizing is not a narrow road. It's not like just keep going straight. It's very much, you might have to go left, you might have to go right, it might be shorter, it might be longer, you might have to change your way. You're going to have to learn as you go. It's one of those experiences you have to be there to understand it. I think the positionality of the snake being in one particular point and then my friends and I being in another point is speaking of the distance, right? The distance from my friends and I actually going on the hero's journey and experiencing that transformation. Because when you're doing revolutionary work, you're not just revolutionizing the work is also revolutionizing you. Hence why Martin Luther King started off as a pacifist. And then by the time he got assassinated, he was talking about we got to go after capitalism. Like, racism is just a game that's used to pit workers against each other. But what the real issue is capitalism. What the real issue is exploitation. What the real issue is imperialism. And when he was talking about the capital's profits, then he went, brrrr. So you have to go into the work knowing that it's going to transform you as much as you transform it, and being able to adapt that. Again, Sagittarius energy, being able to adapt, being able to be moldable, being able to not be so gun hard, rooted, stern, bullheaded, confrontational about it has to be done this way and only this way. You have to be able to rebirth, right? And I think the aspect of my friends and I being in distance is also to show me within the dream is that we are not kids anymore. Like my friends and I are grown, super grown adults. We're not kids anymore. And within my friend groups, and I know at least two of my friends would want to have kids. They don't have kids because not only is the dating out here kind of trash, I'm not even gonna hold you, but like, what is there to birth when you know like climate change is literally around the corner and none of the governments of this earth are doing anything in particular to stop it, or at least change course so we can mediate whatever we can now? Not the UN. That's an organization. Definitely not NATO, because they want to ramp up a nuclear war with their crazy asses. Not the United States. Not quote unquote Great Britain. None of them whatsoever are changing anything. Not the oil industry. In fact, they want to increase fracking. They want to increase drilling. Like, no one's taking the death of us species, us humans, seriously, because we can't interrupt capital. Because at the end of the day, capital, the love of money, is what is keeping the system alive, but also what is killing us softly and will kill us species-wise if we don't do anything to curb this catastrophe, this climate catastrophe. So like I said, with my friend groups, I know at least two of my friends who actually want to have kids, but the ability to actually have kids and actually be able to afford them, no universal programmings, childcare is super freaking expensive, food has gone up, there's no universal free lunch programs anymore, like teacher shortages, and then when you do have teachers, you just allow them to be like in Uvalde. So what is the aspiration? What is the hope? What is the desire to have children when you know they'd be fucked and you'd be fucked? So it's also them not being able to see us because they're still children and they can't process our human experience, well, our adult point of view. But we can see them and they can't recognize us because we see what we can't have, in the sense of a next chapter, in a sense of starting a family, in a sense of reinvesting into this human experience. We have children because they are an extension of us. And a lot of parents take that to heart. They become very narcissistic, very much helicopter parents. But in a healthier version, what children are supposed to do are supposed to carry on the best aspects of you and build upon that. I read somewhere on Twitter where someone said the ultimate ego death is raising your child to be the better version of you and being able to see how they have succeeded and where you have fallen short as a person. And that's the assessment of your parenthood and how effective it was, as well as the ultimate ego death. And I thought that was brilliant. And that's absolutely what it is. But how can you even go through that path in life knowing that in 5 years, hell, you might be underwater? What chance does that child have to actually live and exist and grow? But also, what chance do you have to actually go through the process of telling them, these are my experiences, these are my hardships, these are my accolades, this is what I've accomplished, this is what I'm passing on. Hopefully you could be better than me at this. How can you pass on those life lessons and those memories and build those memories when literally tomorrow is not promised? And I think the franticness of wanting to escape that petrifying situation, because that's Nick really was going to try to come for us, is the fear of like the mounting stress of it all. As an individual person, I cannot solve for climate change. Like, I just can't. If I could, I would click my heels, snap my fingers, and no more drilling, no more crude oil, no more digging up under the earth, like no more. Cispon. End. Finito. But I don't have that power. Truth be told. So when we think about the mounting issues, whether we're talking about rights being repealed because they weren't codified, which also should lead people to think, if these concessions were truly made, why weren't they codified? it seems like it's an empty gesture. It seems like it's just an appeasal. And with the repealing, the overturning, we see that, yes, indeed, it was just symbolic. Because if it can be given and taken away, it was truly never yours to begin with. If it needs to be validated by someone other than yourself, and they have the power to devalue it, then it was never yours to begin with. It was always on borrowed time. And this goes for gay marriage. This goes for voting rights and all the other quote unquote human rights, one that are ultimately under siege with this new Supreme Justice Court judges. So when you think about, and it could be anything, it could be anything, just pile on the thoughts that we have as adults. I think a part of adulthood, especially in the system of things, is very much anxiety, depression, sparks of mania, but it doesn't have to be such. If we did connect, if we did organize, and we did strategize, because people power always win. We see this with ants. The capitalist class can see us as ants, can see us as useless eaters, can see us as busy bees. One bee probably won't do nothing to you, but shake up that hive and they all come swarming for you, you gonna run and duck for cover. One ant may not be able to get the job done, but when you see a whole anthill and you see them things pouring over like lava, you start to run because you realize you have an infestation. Yikes. Hopefully the extermination fee ain't high, like the gas prices. I say this to say is, as an individual with no connections, and let's be real, in the capitalist system, no money, you probably have no power. But if you can get 10,000 people to back you up, you got 10,000 reasons why power needs to listen to you. And her, and she, and they, and it, and X, and everything else in between. Solidarity. And with the ability to be able to be mutable at that situation, my friends and I, and frantically, searching on some like down to the last seconds, dumb luck strike, with that guy being able to show us the pathway. When you're united and you're in solidarity and you have a vision, you have a code of ethics, you have principles, and you stay true to those, you're only going to resonate and connect and draw in other people like you. Now, will there be people there kicking mess? Of course. But if you already have principles that you agree to, and you see these people are exhibiting contrarian signs just to be contrarian, they're there just to kick up shit, they're there just to cause whataboutism, tail spinning, fragmentation. If you already took the organization serious and you already have certain things in place, when you see those behaviors, you cut it off from the neck like a snake. That's the easiest way that you kill a snake. You cut the head off. So when you see these cracks within a particular person, or a particular ideology, or a particular framework within the organizing, if it coincides with the mission, then it's just your imagination, Neptunian energy. But if it doesn't align with the mission, then it's very much a karmic situation, and you need to navigate that in the best way possible, preferably at the neck. So with us fighting and overcoming, even if it was just to preserve our asses, literally, we were able to draw the attention of another adult who was in the vicinity, besides me and my friends and kids, that's not ours. We draw a helping hand. You're going to have allies and solidarity with people who don't look like you, people who don't think like you, people who don't move like you. But if you can all agree on certain positionalities, that is what matters. This is not a cult. We don't all have to be alike, dress alike. This is not that. This is not Nazi Germany, goddammit. You can be your individual self. That is what human rights is. That is what being a human is. but you have to have principles and ways that you formulate a society that, regardless of how you present, these are what we believe in, that make a society sustainable, healthy, and a livable for every human being, for whatever you want to come up in, whatever you want to express yourself in, whatever ideology, whatever. But if we can all agree, thou shalt not murder, guess what? It's easier for me to want to actually like live amongst you. If we can all agree that thou shalt not exploit, guess what? It's a little bit easier for me to like not have to worry about if I lock my doors at night because I know you're not going to bust in. If we can all agree on thou shalt share, that means I know when I ain't got it, you got it. And when you ain't got it, I got it. Because we all sharing. So I don't have to be on that miserly mindset. I don't have to think that you're going to outdo me or you're going to get something more than me and I got to get mine. I'm not plotting on your ass. Spot 'em, got 'em. Because I got 'em. You got 'em. We all got 'em. And if I don't got 'em, you ain't got 'em, someone else got 'em. And on the flip side, they can always come and got 'em when I got 'em. Community. Communing. Communism? So that was the dream in and of itself. And I believe I covered Sagittarius energy. But that is the energy. The energy is high. It's like you can smell it in the air. And not only is it hot, and this summer season, child, it's hot. And I'm one of those people who love talking about, oh, I love 80 degrees. I loved 80 degrees like 10 years ago. This 80 degrees is not it. It's hot. It's muggy. I feel like the sun is literally trying to pierce my skin, and I'm black, like black. Okay. I don't mind getting the tan because, I don't mind evening out in color. But even me, I'm like, whoa, this is very unbearable. And don't shame me. I'm having a truth moment with y'all. I'm being honest here. Okay. Judgment free zone. I recently started using sunscreen. And the reason why is because there's not enough Black people sunscreen. And I know some people are going to listen to this and be like, why does race matter? It matters in this context because regular sunscreen leaves a very ashy, grayish film on your skin. Because you are white, definitely not like my color, you don't notice it. But me, I do. And people who have the skin range as me, they do. So part of it is kind of ignorance with the whole like black don't crack, but black does crack and black does get sunburn if you don't take care of your skin. So get up on that sunblock. But also because there's not a lot of sunblock that does not make us look like another species. That's that. So I did start, putting on that sunblock because I'm like, God damn, the sun is hot. And every time the sun would be covered by the cloud, I'd be like, oh, relief. And then the cloud would pass by. I'm like, no, too hot. Thank goodness I was on a beach, so I was closer to the water. So the water gave me that nice breeze to like even it out. But even after a while, I was like, look, I'm going to finish up this chapter because I'm reading a book. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I am reading a book and it is political. But I was like, oh, once I wrap up this chapter, I'm going to go. Okay. Like this heat is just too much. It's just too much. It's just too hot. And I love hot, but this is like hot. It gives me tease of like, if y'all was one of those weird kids who did it, again, judgment free zone, but I'm kind of like low key giving you the side eye. If you were one of those kids who used to take a magnifying glass underneath the hot ass sun to kill them bugs, I feel like the sun's doing that to me with an invisible magnifying glass. And I know it's not only a me thing, but like talking about me. So obviously I'm going to focus and orient the conversation on me. But, yeah, wear your sunscreen. Stop playing. Drink your water because I have water too. Drink your water. Stop playing. And take care of each other. But first, take care of you. Because something that's not spoken often about, especially when we talk about political things and we talk about what's going on with the global collective, we don't talk about caring for self first. Because we live in such a go get 'em, hustle mentality, sleep while you're dead, money's always on the floor, gotta collect it, gotta hustle, gotta this and the third. We don't take time for self-care. And when we do talk about self-care, we're talking about here's the crystals to buy, here's the bath salts to buy, here's the incense to buy, here's the candles to buy, to you how to perform self-care in capitalism, which you don't need to do any of that shit, because it is just for the most part marketing and capitalism. But even certain things like my self-care is that I actually slept a whole full 6 hours of sleep. And I didn't have to twist and turn. I didn't have to get up and go back to sleep. It was no insomnia, like straight through. That's my self-care. My self-care is being intentional about what I consume. I've replaced this bad habit with this good habit. Self-care is also like, no, I'm feeling to like not take that shift. I know rent is still due, but like I'm tired. Or I want to just kick it with my kids. I just want to take them to the park. When you don't have that ability to stand up for yourself and have the ability to be autonomous and set those boundaries, how can you advocate for someone else and organize for a group collective when you don't even have that for self? And that's not for me to victim blame or point fingers, as opposed to showing how the conscious and the unconscious are very much aligned. If you cannot find time to give to self, then how can you find time for anybody else, including the people that you love dearest, which is usually the nuclear family, your partner, your children, and so on and so forth? And the answer for most people is because they're working. It's because they are part of the working class. It's because they need to pay these bills, which is understandable. But it's also a reflection and indictment of the system. The same system that is tearing you apart, whether it's mentally, whether it's financially, whether it's psychologically, whether it's your dignity, is the same system you can't leave alone, because without it, you would be even in a worse position economically, and therefore be more vulnerable and be more of a prey to the outside elements. Whether we're talking about encampments, whether we're talking about not having enough food to eat, so you're scrummaging and you might be dumpster diving and things of that nature, compromising on morals, so doing certain trades like, if you give me this, I give you that, and usually that is the body. So this system, no, does not have a gun to our heads. No, does not force us into work. But we know the alternative, even if the job is breaking our soul, the workplace is breaking our soul, the conditions are breaking our soul, the material conditions of our lives are breaking our souls. We also feel anchored and stifled and held hostage to said job, because we know going from one job to another is like going from one abuser to another. It's the same shit, different day. And we also know that it's not as easy to quit, find something different, and in that in between instability, your bill still paid, your roof still over your head, your food still in your stomach, the oil still in your core. We know that's not an easy transition for most people in the working class. And because the capitalist class can use this against us, we are always in a never-ending cycle of depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. We're always on the edge. We're always nervous. So if we are living in that energy day in and day out, how do you find time for self? When literally your true self is buried in the basement of capitalism. So if you don't even have time to be real or to give to self or take time off or whatever the case may be, then how do you have time to join a tenant union? How do you have time to join a union meeting? How do you have time to join an organization, a political organization? How do you have time for that when you don't even have time for your own self-care? And if you think that's not by design, I got a bridge that I could sell you. Now, I ain't got the deed for it, but I know where it's located. But I don't want to go too long within this video. I want to let y'all know there are some updates. I will be doing Paint Your Truth in Massachusetts. So if you're in Massachusetts, specifically Somerville, Massachusetts, I will be hosting ArtBeat 2022 this year. So definitely come through if you're in the neighborhood, you want to get into some self-care painting. It's free 99. I provide all the materials. I will facilitate the particular workshop. So if you're into painting, you're new to it, whatever the case may be, don't trip. I got you. It will be in a public space. It will be a shared safe space, but I think you'll dig it because most people do. I haven't yet to have anybody complain that they did not. So definitely come through. And again, it's free. So definitely come if you are able to do so. If you want to reach me, you can find me on social media. Paint Your Truth everywhere. Facebook, Paint Your Truth. Instagram, Paint Your Truth _. Don't forget the underscore. Twitter, Paint Your Truth, as well as you can always email me at paintyourtruth.art@gmail.com. I think that's all I have to say for now. But definitely read some articles on what the Sagittarius full moon may mean to you, especially when it comes to your sun. No matter where you have Jupiter and Neptune within your chart, it will affect you similarly the same, the collective, but may hit you differently, especially if your Jupiter is said in a particular sign that's like a mutable sign, so it'd be more complementary to that energy. But if it's in like something that's totally in opposition, let's say in a cardinal sign, so let's say you have your Jupiter in Aries, it might be the energy of like fast, crash, or cutting your nose to spite your face, or like, you know, so it might mean different things to different people. So definitely take a look at your chart to know and get a better understanding of how these energies will work for you. But that is all I have for y'all for today or tonight, depending on when you hear this and when I upload it. But that is all. If you would like to show your gratitude, optional as hell, you can always hit me up in the Cashapp $VWCine, all the information that you'll need to know about me and the channel, updates, whatever, will be in the description box down below. And I shall see you on the next, not only video, but also on the next full moon tarot reading. We just did Sag, so next time it will be Capricorn, and we're just talking about cardinal energy. So this shall be interesting. So enjoy your summer. If you participate and parlay in that July 4th energy, y'all tell me, does it hit like it used to? Are you really proud? And is this the legacy that you want to leave for your youngins? Whether you have youngins, whether you don't have youngins, when you're planning to have youngins, you're not planning to have youngins still in these streets. Is this the legacy we want to leave for youngins, whether they ours or just the collective's youngins, the community's youngins, Earth's youngins, God's youngins, just youngins. They just young in these streets. And with that being said, y'all, be blessed, be enlightened, be loved, and I shall see you on the next video. Peace.